Hello everybody. It's me, Hazer, and I'm here with some more SPL content. We've had our first week of the Smite Pro League, and it's time to talk about the new starts that we saw. We saw a couple new starts. Also, my face is relatively hairless. My head's relatively hairless too, but hopefully that comes back. The bars are gone. I know some people are amazed that every time I record one of these videos I look different. Today's another day where I will be looking different, but hopefully this one's here to stay at least for a little while. Anyway, there was a couple starts we saw. We saw like the normal ranked start, which is the ADC and mid sharing red, solo and jungle sharing speed and going over to the right hand side of the map, and then the ADC and the support sharing purple, and then the jungler and the mid eventually meet up in the mid lane. But we saw a couple other starts, notably by the Comelot Kings and by the Jade Dragons. I'm going to call the Kings one the King start, the Dragons one, maybe we'll call it the Sam start, because it does seem to hinge on Sam for soccer in the jungle. I got a few clips to go through, so I'm just gonna go through them and talk about them, talk about how it goes, just in normal games where they don't get anything particularly huge out of the start, and how it goes in games where they get a win out of it, and why they might be doing these starts, and my thoughts behind them. I could be totally wrong, which would be fun. But yeah, I feel like there is some decent reasoning behind the starts, and they have a couple things in common, which are, I think, important to know, and probably a big part of why these are the two starts that people are doing. So yeah, we're going to move on to clips now of the videos. Of the games? Of what have I just said? Who knows? Anyway, let's watch some clips. Okay, so I'm in the top left now. Hello. We're going to be kicking this one off with the Comelot Kings playing up against the Tartarus Titans. This is the remade version of Game 1. I want to show you the start sort of when it's expected. So after the game crashed, there was a copy by the Titans, and we see Kukulkan hits the speed. You notice how quickly he gets to mid here, very, very quickly. King Achilles is doing his blow on his own, so is Arthur. And the duo side, they started on the purple and went into the lane, so let's see how that plays out. So the junglers are farming stuff on their own. Looks like they took slightly different paths in that Scary D skipped his small backs, and Captain Twig went for his. And on the left-hand side, you see that Chernobog did hit level 2 on the first wave. Bacchus did not. I believe that if you skip Benevolence, you do hit 2. And then the jungler and the mid get together on red, and they farm out some mids. And now they've grouped up, and the start's kind of over at this point. So if you look at the pathing again, jungler goes speed to backs, and then comes over to the left-hand side of the map to do mids. To do red, and then we'll do mids if they're still available. And yeah, duo lane, they stick in duo. Ymir and Chernobog managed to get the Harpy here, but nothing too much gained out of it. So that's kind of a look at what happens when the other team deals with the start well, and how the farming goes. We can talk a little bit about why as we get into the next one. Okay, so I had to grab this one from the Twitch VOD, but hopefully the quality's still okay and stuff. We can hear aggro. I'll turn him down slightly. Sounds excited. So this is where the Titans were not prepared for the King start. They didn't copy it yet anyway. They copy it in the remake, and we see what happens when the other team isn't ready for it. So Ymir and Bog not showing themselves on the map. Nobody showing themselves on the map. Let's see what happens. So this is the Titans doing the ranked start up against the Kings start by the Kings, funnily enough. So Big Man Tings, notice in both games he was on Kukulkan, so he can leave the speed really early to get to mid, which should give him pressure. Look how he has further to travel than Moribi gets into mid way sooner, because he doesn't have to wait around with that red, he doesn't have to pick it up. He can clear out that wave super quickly and get pressure in mid. Achilles is already in lane, getting pressure. Ymir and Chernobog, they have pressure on the left-hand side, which allows them to push that wave before Cyclone and Aurora get there, and they get the neutral farm. Achilles is walking up now. Look at how much pressure he has. He's going to poke Benji out. This eventually leads to him getting the beads out of Benji, as I'm sure we'll see in a bit. And now the red is farmed. So if you look at the difference in what's been farmed, everything's been farmed basically on each side. Kukulkan and... Well, Kukulkan gets one set of mids. Kukulkan and Nezha get one set of mids. Nem and Mori get the other. But less creeps have been missed by the Kings. They've gotten all of the wave in solo and all of the wave in duo. They got the neutral farm in terms of the small harpy in duo side of the map. And now the backs are farmed out faster by Twig on this Nezha than they are by the Nemesis on the other side. And they get the neutral farm of the what's it called? The totem as well, which allows them to maintain pressure all across the map. And Variety has in fact forced out the beads out of Benji as well. You can see those are down on cooldown for another 130 seconds right now. So, I mean, you can see what advantage this start can give you if the other team's not ready for it. It gives you pressure in side lanes. And another thing to note is that the start that Twig went for, that's him just finished his boots now. But he started with Boomba's dagger, boots 2 rather, which means he has no gold for pots. And he is worse at fighting than this Nem, who has Eye of the Jungle. She could have gone mannequins if she really wanted to fight. But Twig, not wanting to fight, okay, I'll go full screen so we can talk a little bit here. He doesn't have pots to sustain in fights. He doesn't have as good of a fight as the Nem. So he has this disadvantage. So he doesn't want to fight until he gets full boots. He will get full boots faster, so he hits that spike faster. But with the pathing he takes, he never has to fight. Twig didn't even see the Nem at any point. I feel like there was no option for Scary D to engage. There was no point where they were 2v2ing in mid like you would have with the ranked start, as we'll call it. So yeah, that's another reason it might be good. Next up, we'll have a look at the Dragon start. So we'll look at it game 1 and we'll look at it game 2. The Dragons start, the Jade start, the Sam start, whatever I'm calling it. So let's have a look at that 1 second here. Here we go. I made these, I just recorded these earlier with the demos that are made available now. The demo files are made available. I'll link them, I think. And this time Sam has opted for the Eye of the Jungle. That's what we're focusing on here. And on the other side, they are using the Oni Warriors are doing the same start we just saw. So it looks there as if Sam was gonna path towards mid after doing red, chose not to. Maybe he knows there's a blue ward on the red, so he'd be spotted out, and that's why he pathed that way, to make Dardes be careful in mid. Maybe it was something to do with the fact that they saw Duo in Duo lane. But anyway, Sam does red to backs. On the other side, King Arthur did solo the blue, and the Duo lane did the purple and went to lane. So Sam does red to backs, and then he goes over to speed. He is still level 1 at this stage, but very safe. Doesn't matter that he's not hit 2. Hurry able to solo out the left mids, clearing out the vines to make sure he's safe there, while red still needs to be farmed on the other side. So Thana has now hit 2, and he's on the solo side of the map. So the farming on this one's a little bit slower. You can see that Cuvo has all of his farm off the map already, but has not got any neutral farm, whereas Yanis has managed to get the left mids, and now Yanis is going to get right mids as well. So solo side and duo side mids looks like they will. Oh, nice blink there by Sam. Gets the beads out of Dardes. So he was around the solo side. Maybe they didn't expect that. Maybe they didn't know where Sam was. So that's how it went in game 1, when I would assume that the Oni Warriors didn't really know about this start, didn't really know what to expect. Trying to pressure them out still around mid. But yeah, all the farms off the map now. Right backs are back up for Cuvo. So actually, in this case, Cuvo has gotten the farm off the map sooner and should end up with more farm overall. 3 neutral harpies, or even in fact 4 if you include the duo neutral harpy. So they got the 2 neutral harpies on the duo side. Yanis got both of those, and on the solo side they traded 1 for 1, as well as getting the single harpy between the 2 purples that you can see on the map there. So neutral farm went slightly in favor of Sam and Co with their start. Yeah, it's interesting. And now weird pathing here by Cuvo. Cuvo very focused on making sure he gets the blue for his team. Maybe worried about an invade. Purple's being invaded. and Sam backs after farming red with his mid laner, getting a full boots back. That's that done. Okay, now we'll have a look at what happens when the team is not so ready. Well, I mean, they doesn't deal with it so well. So theoretically, game 2, the Warriors should have been more prepared for this start. Their coach, Chuck, should have told them what to expect, but they seem to end up in actually a slightly worse situation dealing with it the second time around. So let's have a look and watch it out. Okay, so game 2. Again, same matchup. This time you've got Osiris for Sam in the jungle rather than the Thana we saw last time out. And this time he's going for a different start as well. He went the Boomba's boots too. I guess that's just God dependent. Doesn't really depend on the start. But he's starting on red once more. Again, both these starts have the duo lane start on purple and the solo laners start on blue to deal with side lane pressure, I believe. Gives them more pressure in the side lanes. Did we see any? We didn't see any starter skips here, but we didn't see benevolence from either support. It's important to note. So I guess they will both hit 2 on the first wave. I think if you get all 6 creeps on that first wave plus the purple, I think both of your lane members hit 2, if I'm not mistaken. Should probably know that before we get in. Again, hurry, soloing out these duo side mids. Sam has hit 2, and you look at what Final K is doing here. By the way, he's holding the wave on the edge of his tower. So this time, Nika should know that there's a good chance that Sam's on the solo side of the map because of the start he did in game 1. Should have a good idea that this could happen. I think this was an uncharacteristically really bad play by Nika. He goes, pressures up, gets baited by the King Arthur, and then should really be able to walk away here in a straight line. I mean, I think I changed the view here, so still 2 seconds on the Osiris 2 coming up. His natural regen would have come through to keep him alive if he just straight lined it. So bad mistake by Nika, but just being caught that far up was almost a mistake, or not dropping his vision ward above the totem so he can spot out the rotation coming in from Sam. Should know that he could come over to the right hand side there, should expect it from hearing about the start from game 1. So I don't know, mistake there by the Warriors in my opinion, but that shows what can happen with this start. The jungler, you don't know where the jungler is because of their pathing. They're not seen by anyone on the map at any point. With the way it goes reds to backs, underneath the tier 2 to speeds to backs to backs. So you're never gonna know where he is with any confidence. So yeah, these are the 2 new starts we're seeing. Maybe we could talk a little bit about why. I actually, some of this came to me in the shower earlier on. I was having a shower and I was thinking about Smite starts because I'm sad like that. And I was thinking about why Sam might want to do the pathing he does, what the difference is between the 2 are. So I suppose the difference is, if you think about the starts, the difference is that on one start, the red is done earlier and the duo side jungle's done earlier. That's the Sam start. And on the other start, the King's start, all the buffs are done at the same time, apart from the red. So on both starts, you have the blue and the purple being done as soon as they spawn. And on one of them, you have the speed being done at the same time. On one of them, you have the red being done at the same time. So why might this be important? I think that one thing is, it seems to me that the King's start is better just in terms of getting your farm off the map, and duo splitting a little bit more, which is efficient. Or maybe the duo splitting is exactly the same. I need to think about it. But one thing that the Sam start does, which I think is good for his team, is that it means his speed is on a different timer than it would normally be. And that's important because it allows him to be much more flexible on where he wants to be on the map. One thing that Rival and Ghost and the Jade Dragons, all the same sort of team, have been very good at is exploiting weaknesses on the map and invading buffs when they find an advantage. And this helps in a way because your pathing is normally pretty predictable, especially when your speed is spawning at the same time as other buffs. Normally it would be red and purple spawn about the same time as speed in the ranked start, and blue spawns a little bit afterwards, and it's difficult to get to enemy buffs in time to invade them after doing your speed. So you do your speed, and in the time it takes from you to walk from speed to the enemy blue's done. In the time it takes from you to walk from speed to the enemy purple's long done. And with the way that they're manipulating the buff timers right now for the God, I keep forgetting names, Jade Dragons. That gives Sam a lot more flexibility on where he can be on the map at different times, which I really like for that team specifically. If we're talking about the other start we saw, we're going to call that one, we called it the Kings start, right? The Kings start. That one works really well for their team, number one, because I think in all the games where they did it, Big Man Tings played a character where he could leave as soon as he'd tagged the buff and get to mid sooner. So he played Kukulkan, I think, in 3 games and Scylla in another. If I'm not mistaken, it was something like that. And all of those gods, you drop your ability and you leave and you get to mid and you're able to clear it out and you're pretty safe. So that's one thing. The other thing to note in common with the 2 starts is, side lane pressure. We saw in the game where Variety was playing Achilles up against the King Arthur, the remade game that one was. He was able to get pressure in solo and actually force the beads out of the King Arthur, and it ended up with, even in game 2 when they did the same start, he's still a monster, but that's going to allow you a lot of solo pressure. Getting the totem in solo allows you to continue having pressure across the map, particularly in duo. If you're brawling a little bit in duo, the support tends to use quite a lot of mana, and you can get that mana back from the totem, which allows you to maintain pressure across the map, and it just allows you to keep contesting farm and farm a little bit longer before you're first back, which is great for mid laners as well. So yeah, what conclusions do I have about the starts? That's a good question. I think they are better than the ranked start right now. I think the Sam start is slightly worse in terms of farm, and maybe once teams have figured that out, I imagine that the Dragons are a little bit more flexible about the start that they're going to do. They'll probably dabble in a few different starts and start in different places, and I think all teams should be looking to do that. But it's interesting that the speed being on a later timer would give Sam so much flexibility. I really think that, I don't know. I haven't spoken to any of the players about the purposes of these starts, to be honest. But I think you can guess a lot from the results you see. So you look at the start and you look at what they gain from it, and generally that's going to be what they're trying to gain from it. And the fact that the Titans were so quick to copy the start that the Kings were doing probably points to them thinking it's better too, and all the teams seem to be coming in with that kind of start. I think we saw the Valkyries versus the Scarabs. I think they might be doing normal starts, which is interesting. I wonder if we'll see every team doing the same start next week, or if it'll still be mixed up. I think side lane pressure seems to be the name of the game with it. That's the thing they both have in common, is that teams look to prefer to having their duo lane start on purple and go to lane and hit 2 off the first wave, and then contest the Harpy and have their solo laners get the full first wave as well. So there is a little bit of a trade-off in terms of, I guess, your duo splitting less camps in the jungle, which means those camps are giving you less effective farm, but you're not missing any minions in side lanes, which you might have missed before. And it's giving you pressure and allowing you to avoid fights in mid for the King start, and for the Dragon start, for the Sam start. It's allowing you to be more flexible with your rotations around the map regarding buff spawns, which is really useful, I think. So yeah, I don't really know. I've just been kind of rambling on, but I hope this is informative. I hope I've covered everything I wanted to about the starts. Who knows if I have. We'll be back with more SPL content this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as always. Going to be a lot of fun. I'll try to keep giving more analytical style SPL content, because I find it interesting. I think a lot about Comp Smite, even though I'm not involved anymore. And starts are one of the things I think you can break down pretty well, especially at the start of the season. And it's interesting to see how starts evolve until we get to a meta. There tends to be a meta start in ranked and a meta start that evolves over time, and you get these interesting iterations on it, and you see which one wins out and which teams end up sticking with it in the end. So we'll see if we end up with one version of the truth, sort of, as has happened in previous seasons, where everybody gravitates towards a single start and a single style for the opening couple minutes of the game. But yeah, I'm hoping to keep seeing flexibility on the map. Invade's obviously pretty difficult to do with the Invader's Curse being across the whole map and so choking when you want to go for those. So if teams can keep being creative with where they start on the map because they're not worried about their buffs being invaded and they don't have to be there to secure them, that's cool as well. So yeah, I think that's it. I think I've covered everything. If you got any thoughts on the starts, let me know. If any of you pro players want to shout at me and tell me I'm wrong, either publicly or privately, feel free to do so. I won't take offense. I promise. Nah, I don't promise. Nah, I do promise. I won't take offense. But it's yeah, I always find these kind of things interesting, trying to think about why people are doing certain things when you're not involved in it. But yeah, that's gonna be it from me. Subscribe, like, comment, YouTube stuff. I don't know. Not very good at YouTube, am I? Check me out on Twitch. Check me out on Twitter. The links will be down below. I'll link up to the demos down below as well. If you want to go in and have a look at the SPL games in the in-game spectator client, why you'd want to use that, I don't know. But if you want to do so, you can follow the link that I'll stick in down below. It's cool that that this stuff's being provided this year. So hopefully people take advantage of it and we see some cool content made. But yeah, that's gonna be it from me. I'll see you all on Friday without the handlebars. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.